My name is Voelker. I'm one of the attorneys here at Calla and Voelker, and I want to talk to you a little bit about workers' compensation and hope that I can give you some guidance. When people get hurt at work, more than likely your employers immediately filed notice with the workers' compensation carrier. So they are early on trying to see what you're going to do. And a lot of times if you're not doing anything, you're not being proactive, they will claim that you didn't get hurt. The other thing is you have to give due and timely notice. So the key is to be very proactive when you've gotten hurt at work. It's a lot easier to get your claim going the right direction when you've been proactive. And since there's no charge at all to reach out and talk to me, I would encourage you, whether you call me or another attorney, call a lawyer. The insurance companies obviously have lots of lawyers working for them. They have lots of money. And a lot of times you may not realize just how bad you're hurt. And if you waste time and you don't get the case going right, it could hurt you financially in the future. Some of the common questions I get asked, one of the big ones early on is obviously, how do I get paid? And that answer is, that once you've been off a week, they owe you TTD and workers' compensation, which is 2/3 your normal rate of pay, and it is tax-free. The big question I get asked a lot, and it just confirms to me that the insurance companies are always trying to control and not really get you proper treatment. Can I choose my own doctor? And the answer is absolutely. You can go to the doctor of your choice. They love to steer you to the doctor they're choosing versus giving you the ability to pick your own doctor. One of the other questions people ask a lot of is, what about my job? Do they have to hold my job for me? And ironically, there is no law under Kentucky workers' comp that per se governs that, but you are protected. A lot of times if you've gotten hurt at work, provided your employer employs the requisite number of people, many times you are covered under the Family Medical Leave Act. So that's another key in workers' compensation. I do a lot of employment law, so I'm able to know those laws along with workers' comp, because many times you have rights under Family Medical Leave, under maybe the ADA, which is Americans with Disabilities Act. So a lot of times people are calling not just about their injury, but how's it going to affect their employment? Because many times people who have gotten hurt aren't a seasonal, temporary, or other type of worker. It's somebody who's maybe been with a big manufacturing company for 15, 20 years, and they're worried what's going to happen with their job. And you've got to be able to explain that to them as an attorney to give them good guidance with their workers' compensation. The process in workers' comp is pretty much, when people come in, there's kind of a couple components of it. The first one is medical. Obviously, you get hurt at work, they've got to cover your medical. Up until a recent change in law, that medical used to be for a lifetime. Now there is a number of years. It's in excess of 10 years, so it's not like you've got to worry about it right away. But early on, they're covering your medical bills. Next thing that's important, because obviously a lot of times people already have health insurance for that, but the biggest thing is, once you've been off work 1 week, you're entitled to what's called TTD, temporary total disability, which is pretty much just a fancy word for what the little Aflac duck can give you. So when you're off work, you're going to get 2/3 your normal pay. The biggest concern I always hear about that is people will call and they'll be like, I'm not really made whole. Now, the legislature will tell you you are made whole because it's 2/3 of your normal pay. The problem is, because it's not taxed. So when their view is, if I give you 66 2/3 of your normal pay, but I don't charge you taxes on it, you're made whole. Problem with that is I would assume you're in a 33% tax bracket, which most people are not. But unfortunately, while you're off work with workers' comp, that's what you're going to get. As an attorney, you hope those two things are in place in the workers' comp case, because if they're not, then I've got to go fight to get your medical covered and to get your TTD going. So it's kind of one of those things where I got to do two battles in some workers' comp cases, but in others, the employer maybe has said, hey, we acknowledge the person fell, they lifted something, they tore their shoulder, they're off work, they're going to have surgery, so they're getting their medical, they're getting that TTD paid. Where the lawyer really gets involved is after all that, the doctor basically says, this is as good as I can make you. I had my surgery, I went through my therapy. They'll hear a buzzword, MMI, maximum medical improvement, and that's basically when the doctor says, this is as good as I can make you. I can't do anything else for you. That's what it is. You at that point will have what's called an impairment rating, and they use the AMA 5th edition guidelines, which is a big book, I think about that big, about that thick. And basically a doctor goes through and they say, after all this, you had your shoulder, we had to surgically repair it, or your knee, you have a 5% whole body impairment, 10%, 15%. That's what we utilize to then argue of what your award will be under Kentucky law. And that's what's called PPD, Permanent Partial Disability Award. You get that rating times you're using a formula based on your wage, and that's where factors come in, whether you return to work, didn't return to work, or physically can't return to work. The easiest way I tell clients how to imagine what impairment rating is imagine your body as a pie, and there's 100 pieces in this pie, and when it's all said and done, how many of those pieces are you missing, whether it's 5 or 10 or something. So you can get a PPD award. Let's say, God forbid, you were so hurt that you can't return to any type of work at all. At that point, you can make a request and try and argue that you're fully disabled. At such a time, you will draw that TTD amount, that 2/3 of your normal pay, up until you reach the age of 70. And it also with workers' comp, you also have rights to reopen. So, for example, if I have surgery in 2019 and 2 years later, maybe I had a torn meniscus in my knee, and a few years later I need a knee replacement, I can reopen if my impairment rating goes up. The other thing in workers' comp, you have a right to seek vocational rehabilitation, which is fancy word for if you need to be retrained on another type of job. So that's all the aspects of workers' comp. The key in workers' comp, what I believe, is that early on, one of the biggest misrepresentations I hear from insurance companies are that you can't pick your doctor. You can pick your doctor. They want to send you to business health centers and things like that really don't exist to help that injured worker. They usually have pre-existing contracts with your employer. You need to go to your doctor. You need to call your family physician. Let them refer you. If you've got a tear or a pain radiating down your back because you lifted something and you felt a pop, you control where you go to treat. Don't let an insurance company, and surely don't let your employer. Obviously, they have ulterior motives on where they want to send you, but you need to find out what's wrong with you. Go to your family doctor, and then if you need to be referred out to an orthopedic doctor or somebody like that, you need to follow what their advice is, because the insurance companies will continue to say you need to stay at a business health center or something like that. I would welcome or ask anybody needing help with a workers' compensation case to either call me at the office, 859-781-9100, or my cell phone. You can call or text 859-802-8690, or email me at bvoelker, BVOELKER, @gatlinvoelker.com.